There we go. It's not too bad. It looks a little milky. It's a little concerning how much fuel there is in the oil.
Okay, today we're going to be fixing and ripping our big turbo BMW. Now you guys know in the last episode we picked up this BMW 335i with the glorious N54 engine for $1,600. Obviously it's broken, obviously it's got a lot of problems, but it is a clean title and it has an amazing racing legend behind it. There's video evidence of this car whooping ass. I'm talking about supercar ass, I'm talking about Hellcat ass. This thing just smoking everything on the road. A lot has happened since then. It's been a few years. It's broken down. There's a lot wrong with it, but nothing we can't handle. So in today's episode, we are going to be fixing those major problems, and by the end of it, giving it a good rip. This thing potentially makes around 600, 700 horsepower with room for even more. So let's get started. Okay, in the last video, which if you haven't seen, you should go check it out, we go over all the cosmetic damage, some of the things you can see from the surface level that's wrong with this car. Well, today, not only are we gonna dive deep into everything else that's wrong with it, we found some pretty bad things. First things we're looking at is just mind-boggling. I mean, what a car. You guys have to remember, it was $1,600. You're not gonna get a whole lot for $1,600. I think we got a pretty cool car, but you gotta take a look at some of these things. Right here, I don't know if you can see with the camera, the diff is slanted. And you can see the bushings that are holding the diff to the car completely annihilated. The bolt that goes into it broke, it snapped. This car makes so much torque, it's twisting the chassis or the rear end. But that's crazy and incredibly dangerous. So I'm glad that before we did some rips in it, we got it up on a lift because we're gonna change those out ASAP. Looking back, we could see some really terrible exhaust work that was done. So someone, swapped out the exhaust. Everything else, overall, transmission, bone dry. I don't see any leaks of fluid, which is a great sign. Now we could see the downpipe. We could get a good look at those, teriyaki titty twisters right there. The things that are making all that power. Just to verify, these are 19T turbos, so I'm glad that that checks out, because it would be really boring if, they ended up being stock. So, they got those eBay twin turbos, which, make a lot of power. So I cannot wait to rip it in this car. We got this super fat, big old boy right here, this intercooler, massive. Looks like it's got a big dent right here, so it got hit somewhere, maybe on a curb or something. You see the shoelaces holding this together. We're gonna do a smoke test, make sure that there's no leaks, because if you have a boost leak, you're not gonna make the power that you expect to make. We can see that the inlet hose is not connected, which shouldn't cause a boost leak, but you don't want rocks or sand to fly up there and just blow up your engine. So we're gonna be fixing that. The serpentine belt is completely toast. That's gonna have to be replaced. We know the power steering pump doesn't work. We're gonna replace that most likely. The alternator we're probably gonna rebuild. Overall, as beat as it is, I don't see that much seeping fluid. We got a little bit here, but nothing too crazy. Now, okay guys, right here we can see junkyard riding on the suspension. Now, that's kind of concerning. I mean, this stuff isn't that expensive. So the fact that they're buying used junkyard shit, that just tells you that one of the owners, which goes along with our suspicions, was so broke and had absolutely no money. They spent every dime they had to get this car. Now, when it came to maintenance, that's how you end up with the shoelace job. So that's never a good sign when buying a car. Now, I look over here, this one doesn't even match that one at all. And you take a little look at this bolt right here, it's a little bit loose. So just so that you guys can see, do you see how much play is in that? That's not good. Imagine if we were doing donuts, which my instinct when buying a car is to do donuts, and this thing just popped right off. that wouldn't be good. Or imagine if I was on the freeway, you know, doing a massive pull and this thing just fell right off. That wouldn't be good either. You know, you get this thing up to 100 and this thing snaps, you're gone. It's important when buying a really, really bad car to inspect the car. And, you know, just doing even a shake test. That's pretty much how we found this.
Sure, this thing has a ton of problems, but on the bright side, these tires are brand new. And these aren't just any tires. These are Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's. These are like $300 to $400 a tire, and they're brand spanking new. Date code 1124. I don't even know. Brand new Michelins, basically worth about half of what we paid for the car. So, huge plus right there.
And I almost forgot. You gotta take a look over here because we could see that we got mismatched suspension. So you could see a shock right over here with a adjustable coil spring, and then right over here, an entirely different shock with an adjustable coil spring. So they're mixing and matching you know, suspension components. That's never a great sign. Now this is just what's underneath the car. Let's take a look at the engine bay.
Okay, now talking about this engine bay. Where do I begin? Well, first, this bumper was only being held on by 2 screws, some zip ties, and a shoelace. So, with this out of the way, we're gonna have more room to work. This whole problem started with the charging issue. This alternator we have deemed with a multimeter that it will not charge the battery. It's no good. The first item to tackle on this build would be the alternator, which luckily is only 4 bolts. Now to get down there, we're gonna have to remove this, which there is so much jank in this engine, it's not even funny. You know, I'm a jank guy. We do a lot of jank things here to put cars together. This is crazy. I mean, now at a quick glance, already, things are completely jank in this engine bay. Nothing's held up by brackets. Everything's zip tied together. I mean, this has writing from a junkyard, so that's instantly questionable. This wasn't even bolted down, which had 2 screws holding it together, mismatched screws. As far as the motor, fortunately, it's not port injection. Even though we were sold the car thinking that it was port injection with a deeper look inside, it's normal with direct injectors. But the good news is we got index 12 injectors, and we got 6 of them, baby. The price alone for 6 index 12 injectors is twice what we paid for this car. That is awesome news. Really stoked. These coils look pretty new as well. This thing is puking out oil, so all along the valve cover there's tons of oil. It looks like someone has RTV'd around this valve cover gasket, so like it has some attention brought to it. There's RTV spewing everywhere out of it. I mean, we got a rat's nest of problems. I mean, like, this thing is not drivable. So you saw the last video, the charging problem is our main problem keeping us from driving this car. Now with this, you know, no longer in the car, we can finally get to the broken alternator. Now, this thing was giving us like 11.6 volts while the car was running. That's not good enough. It's gotta be like 13.5 to 14. So this has to be removed. Now, what we're gonna do, because a new one costs like $400 to $600, is we're gonna take it out and get it rebuilt for about 140 bucks. That is true budget right there. I'm not paying a dime more than I have to get this thing on the road. Okay, let's start tearing everything apart.
Okay, here we go. Alternator is out. Now, of course, they don't make it the easiest thing in the world because it's really tight between the power steering, which we gotta still do, and the intake manifold. And it's plastic, so if you're yanking too hard, you crack that. It's BMW for you. No need to buy a new one. We're just gonna have this one rebuilt. That way we keep it BMW, keep it in good shape, and it's a whole lot cheaper.
Okay, we just got back from the alternator rebuild shop, and let me just tell you, it was an amazing experience. They took the alternator in a few hours. We dropped it off and we just picked it back up. In a few hours, they cleaned it, they swapped out all the bad components, and they even replaced the voltage regulator. Now, this is the most common reason why these go bad, and they only make 2 of them now. They make one from China, which is crap, and they make one in Hungary, and that's what this one is. It's an actual Bosch voltage regulator. So when we initially got there, he tested our alternator. It was in fact dead, and once this one was rebuilt before we left, he tested this one again, and we got 14.5 volts. So we should be good to go. This should fix the entire charging problem in this car, but there's only one way to figure that out. So let's finagle this thing back in the car, put the serpentine belt back on, and turn the car on. All right.
Okay, alternator's all hooked up. Basically what we're gonna do is now test to see if it's actually charging the car now. Super simple. Got a little voltmeter, positive, negative, should say 14 or higher, and then I'll be happy. So Lenny's gonna start up the car right now. We'll see what happens. Okay, we're connected right now. Lenny's gonna start it up.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, alternator's in. It is charging. It's charging a little bit high, but what I want to do is let the car idle, see if it drops. But before I let this car idle for a while, I want to take a look at the oil because we haven't really done that yet. And we should probably change the oil. Probably gonna do that right now anyways, but when you're pushing an engine to the absolute limits, like this example is, you want to make sure you have clean, fresh oil. It's like the most important thing to protect your engine. You don't want those rod bearings blowing up. You don't want anything catastrophic. So very convenient that the oil filter's up here on the top. I used to hate it, but I love it now. And that looks...
Dude, what the heck?
Really bad.
Why is it so runny?
I don't know. Is that coolant? No, it's gas. So actually, I wasn't expecting that. This is actually really bad. So having gas in the oil, which is what it seems like, this is the most dangerous thing you could have. This might be worse than coolant. Basically, when you have gas and oil and you mix, the gas will take the oil and clean it right off. If you've ever gotten oil in your hands and it won't come off, and you don't want to use soap, put some gas in your hands. Same thing with oil stains. It'll wipe it right off. It's not good for an engine when you want every single piece of metal to metal contact to be lubed up. Guys, we're talking about catastrophic engine failure right now. I don't know what's causing this, but if we run the engine right now and let it run, this engine will blow up. This entire project out the window, waste of time, waste of money. This has to be solved right now. And we'll go buy some oil and a new filter and swap everything out, but we gotta figure out what's causing that. In some cases, the injectors can leak gasoline into the cylinder. It'll seep past the rings, wash the wall. Critical oil spots are no longer oiled. Your engine could go kaboom, which is not good. So we need to figure it out.
Now, one thing we haven't done is taken a look at the catch can. Now, this car doesn't really need a catch can. It's just kind of one of those dumb mods, but I'm curious to see. I'm assuming it might be a little milky, but I want to see the condition of the oil. There we go. It's not too bad. It looks a little milky.
No way, dude. Oh my god, dude, I'm gonna...
It's a little concerning how much fuel there is in the oil.
Oh my god.
Oh man. Yeah, it's a little concerning how much fuel there is in this oil. We're gonna need to do an oil change.
It almost feels like they fucking cross-threaded it in. A lot of fucking idiots worked on this car, and it takes one to know one.
Okay, no water, but that's just really thin.
I can smell the gas in the oil from right here, which is not a good sign. That's really bad. The good news is I don't see any metal chunks so far. And we pulled the filter out. No big metal chunks there either. So I have a strong feeling, because based on, watching the videos of the previous owner, that this is not the original engine in the car. So the car has what, like 140,000 miles in the chassis. This motor could have like 40, 60,000. It could have 200,000. I have no idea. Most of the motor looks like it's in pretty decent shape. Now we could definitely do a compression check to make sure that, each cylinder has good compression.
Okay, and one other major thing we want to tackle while we're under here, as you guys saw earlier, is that this control arm is literally loose. Like this bolt right here should not do that. That's super dangerous. I mean, that's enough to not only kill you if you're going too fast and it breaks, and kill other people. So that needs to be tightened. Yeah, look, it's hand loose. It's getting tight. There we go. Ugh. One more little pump. Here we go.
Don't break it.
Oh, I can't break this. Problem solved. Okay, we got the new filter. I'll lube up. Yes, I changed the O-rings. Bada bing, bada boom. This thing's ready for some more abuse.
While trying to figure out the gas and the oil problem, we decided to flash the car back to its stock tune for testing purposes, just in case this car may have been on an old tune that's supposed to utilize parts that have been removed, or maybe an E60 mix, but something was definitely causing it to run too rich. We needed something safe to hammer out all the kinks while we're crafting our special big turbo tune coming very soon.
Okay, so we are back with the 335i, and we got some good news. Both diff bushings that were broken, but we got replacements and we got replacement bolts, because look at the old bolt that we pulled out. Literally snapped in half. This thing makes so much power. This was basically jammed inside the diff bushing, and well, we got it out. So far, we dropped the exhaust. You can see how crooked this diff is. I mean, this is not really good. This is more just for safety, but it's super crooked. I mean, it's basically popping out of the diff bushings on both sides. This one isn't even connected. So obviously, you can't drive it like this. You need specialty tools to remove everything. We're doing that right now. We're gonna basically press in these new diff bushings. I've never done this before. This is gonna be a pain in the ass, I hear. So next up, remove the axles, put the bushings in, and then we can get to work. Okay, first step is to remove both of these tiny little axles. It's just a bunch of E-Torx bolts. Once that's removed, we have to figure out how to remove it from the drive shaft. I think you need like a really big wrench. So to get this nut off, you need a special BMW 50 mil tool that's shaped for getting this diff nut off. Now, I don't have that. This is a whole lot cheaper because that tool's super expensive. This is also a 50 mil wrench head, basically. It's a little too big, so we may have to modify it to get it on, but I think we can make something work.
Okay, we ran into a troubling problem right now. So every time Lenny tries to unscrew the axle bolts, it spins the wheels. So, got my ladder. I could lower the car, but why do that when you got ladders? So, crawl in, pull the e-brake up. We should be good to go. Now I gotta fucking figure out how to get down here.
Should I just go full jackass right now and go kick the ladder out from underneath you?
Okay, while Lenny's taking care of the diff, I am working on trying to get this downpipe out right now because the inlet that's not connected could cause a lot of problems. Like if we drive over a sand dune for whatever reason, I don't know why we would do that, but if we did and the sand gets sucked into that turbo, it's gonna blow it up, potentially destroy the intercooler, potentially blow up the engine. We don't really want that. Something very surprising is that it turns out a lot of bolts on this car are very loose. So it's kind of concerning, but just busted my knuckle on this fucking V-band, but it's off. And now we just gotta be able to just move it, give us a little bit of access.
It is officially time to remove this differential. Oh! Oof! Oof! Got it! Okay. Whoa, we got the differential out now. That was a pain in the ass, dude. They say, oh, just remove the differential. I have a lift and that was a pain in the ass. Okay, so now with that removed, we can actually get and replace those bushings, which I hear are a big pain in the ass. So let's get started. I'm glad the bungee cord I put on here really saved the day here, supporting this drive shaft. Whatever. I got the tool. Basically, this tool that we bought, it's a specific E90 diff bushing extractor and installer. And so right now I got the jig hooked up, and basically the way it works is there's a big rod that goes all the way through it. There's something pushing on the end as I tighten it, and there's something holding it in place on the top. And as I tighten it, this bushing is slowly coming out more and more. So probably like another 30 seconds of turning this wrench. I wish I had a ratcheting one, but I don't. And then this bushing should be out. Now this one was already half falling out. This one over here is a little bit more in. So I don't know if it's gonna be a lot harder. I'm also not looking forward to installing them, so yeah, we'll see. These things are basically much bigger before they go in. Here, let me show you. These bushings are substantially larger, and basically they shrink and get contracted as they get put in. Basically that force always pushing outwards to hold the bushing in place. We're just gonna change these two bad ones right here, put new bolts and hardware, and this one should be fine. It looks pretty intact. There we go. Bushing number one extracted. Out with the old, in with the new. All right, let's see what progress Noah's made on the new bushings.
So these diff bushings are a major pain in the ass because they take forever. And they're this giant black cylinder that you're trying to put in this tight little metal hole. It'd be mature. And it doesn't want to fit, so you gotta lube it up. And you gotta push really hard, twist really hard. And in some cases, your black hole will bend and open up, like right here. So, you know what? They're in, they're new. That's all that matters. We don't want our diff falling out on us like it was before. Okay, so we got this hose clamp in, and what it's doing is it's tightening the rubber, squeezing on it tightly so that we can get it to fit in, because it's a lot bigger. Like it's you look at it and you think, oh my God, I ordered the wrong piece. Fit in there and never move around, never come out. So we're just...
You're hitting the stud now.
Oh, that broke. So we put a little bit of dish soap in it because the dish soap dries out much better than using grease. Now that we ran out of room, now I gotta do it one at a time. Really wish I had a ratcheting wrench this big. I want to drive this thing, dude. A 600 horsepower beast. We gotta fix the power steering still. Okay, pretty much almost everything is done. The diff is back in, bushings tight, everything is good. Last thing we have is a brand new power steering pump. We got a new belt. So far, we're well within our budget, well within our goal, and we should have a pretty good running, driving 600 horsepower beast. So basically, old serpentine belts off. We pulled out the fan again, everything. We got the alternator charging at a good 14.5 now. Everything's good. So just slap these babies in and we'll go rip it.
What a pain in the ass. Getting this thing out of the front of the car was extremely difficult. There's no room for activities. I could barely get my hand in there, let alone my eyes to see what I'm doing. It sucks. But anyways, whatever. We got it out. I don't know how it's gonna go back in. We're gonna have to just push it in there. That's the new one. That's the old one. We have to swap over the pulley. We have to swap over the brackets, get it somehow back in there, and somehow connect the lines without disassembling half the front of the car. So wish me luck. This is the last stretch until we can drive the car. We checked the reservoir, we checked the lines, everything seemed intact. If this doesn't fix our power steering problem, then we might be screwed, because we may have to go get a new rack. I don't even know what else could be the problem at that point. Really, fingers crossed that this fixes this power steering problem. All of the brackets and the little pulley is transferred over. We're good to go. Now comes the part I'm dreading the most, is getting it back in there.
Okay, this thing's a real bitch to do, but what's happening is power steering pump is in the bracket right now, held up. We got the banjo bolt. Now, it might have been easier to do it when it was out, but it goes to this line and it's a real bitch trying to get in. Brand new crush washers on it. You don't want to reuse them, because if you reuse them, it might leak. So brand new ones on. Trying right now to get this thing threaded in, and because it's at an angle, the banjo bolt likes to fall out, and the crush washers like to fall out and jump onto the shop floor somewhere and hide like a 10 mil. I think I got it right now. Oh, there we go. Banjo bolt is in. Just got to use a wrench and finish tightening that fitting. And last time I tightened the banjo bolt was in the Mercedes, and I snapped it. So I got to be extra careful this time, and we should be good to go. The car is pretty much put back together. We got the new serpentine belt, the new power steering pump, the new rebuilt alternator. We have all the bolts that were loose have been tightened. We got new diff bushings. Diff is intact. It's no longer at an angle. We'll see for how long. But now it's time to put new power steering fluid in. We got the Penison. This shit is expensive, but it's a nice, metal can. So that's pretty cool. So just start pouring this shit in there. It's green and it smells nasty. So I'm filling this up. We'll start up the car, move the steering wheel back and forth so that it could really pump that fluid into the lines, and then we gotta top it off again. Okay, we got a new oil filler cap. I got this on eBay for dirt cheap. We got the old one, and this is basically not really an oil filler cap, it's more of like a breather valve. It's supposed to get that blow by out. These things are usually garbage, and what's happening is it's leaking oil by all the coils and the spark plugs. So it's just junk leaking oil everywhere. It's really not needed. So we're gonna get rid of that and put the oil filler cap back on. Solves an oil leak right there. Start this bitch up. Oh, no leak, that's good.
Hey dude, how's the power steering?
It works.
It works?
Yeah. Moves around
That's
easy.
a success.
But let's punch it.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so you can feel the rear end start to slide and you have to like kind of just move it. Turbo noises are the coolest thing in the world. And as loud as this one is,
Oh my gosh!
it starts to slide instantly. This thing's dangerous. I mean, the fact that this is just some boring average 3 Series that has this kind of capability, that's why it's just like a cult classic. Damn, dude. Guys, we're on a stock tune right now, but when you put the pedal down, there's about like a little like half-second delay before the turbos kick in. Once they kick in, the back end starts sliding. You start fishing. You have to immediately take off. Otherwise, I'd go into one of these buildings or something. But I'm just like, whoa, like the whole fucking time. So that's crazy. I can't imagine how dangerous this thing is gonna get once we put a crazy tune on it once again. Okay, Lenny's got to try now.
Yeah, let's do it.
This thing's crazy. Damn, dude! This thing is wicked.
Dude, it's blowing smoke like crazy.
Really? Yeah. Well, we gotta get this tune on ASAP so we can really beat the shit out of it. Part of me wants to get new bumpers and fenders, but at the same time, part of me likes the rattiness. The fact that this thing could just whoop a supercar's ass and look like a pile of trash is kind of fun. So comment down below, should we repair the fenders and bumpers, or should we leave it ratty and sleep your like? Now that this absolute street racing legend has been resurrected, there's still so much to do. Now we know it's a supercar slayer, we know it's a Hellcat slayer, but can it be a demon slayer? You're gonna have to stay tuned to find out, because we're working on a very special tune. So make sure you like this video, make sure you subscribe. We'll catch you in the next one.